last night, I live in Phuket, right? I live in Thailand, and last night I was before going to sleep, went outside and I looked up at the heavens and what and I mean we can't see. Yay! There we go. Okay, looked up at the heavens and I saw like fantastic. There's no way to describe what you see when you see stars and the moon and the air is fresh and it's a sweet breeze, sweet cool breeze and all. It's just and then you see the trees but looking up at the skies were fantastic, because I don't remember seeing the skies as often where I lived in before. And but what caught my eye was as I look in this way, I see this big mechanical crane that they're using to build a building like a hotel across from the ocean. And then I looked at where I'm standing, and I'm standing here in a building, and there's buildings, and I'm just thinking about what we do to this earth, man. It's tragic. It's tragic. Listen, overpopulation is not an issue. It's lifestyle. You all know that, right? You all know that probably what 1/3 of the earth is being used for cities, and everyone likes to hang out together in cities and go to nightclubs and shop at shopping malls, right? That's what people like to do, and that's what they do, and they want to hang out together and they want to look at other people and be seen by other people, and that's the game. That's the game. Okay, so it's not overpopulation. It's not all that sort of thing, right? When I was in Japan, and I mention this a lot, but just because it comes to mind so easily. But the same with America. Look at America. How much of America is not not cities, is rural? I don't know what's happening now with William Henry Gates III. I don't know what he's buying up, but I know he's buying up a lot of junk, a lot of land, a lot of beautiful land. But anyway, still, the land is the land. But in Japan, 2/3 of Japan is forest. The rest is Osaka, Kyoto, Tokyo, Yokohama. So anyway, that's that. So anyway, I'm just saying what we produce. Remember, what we produce is called artifact artificial. And please remember that when you walk into the kitchen and you take the beautiful food that the earth produced, right, and you turn it into something. If you perform a chemical experiment on the substances that you've taken from the earth. When I say chemical experiment, what do I mean? I'm talking about an endothermic chemical reaction. Oh, what's that? Well, that's when you take heat in to change the bonds, so you can actually modify the chemical. So the chemical you started with is not the chemicals you're in. And basically, when we get down to it, right, all substances are chemicals. Oxygen, water is a chemical. Chemicals are there's chemicals. By the way, everyone has sipping 7-7, right? Sipping 7-7. Everyone sips 7-7 vitamin C, right? Sip 7-7. Easy to remember. 8 grams, 10 grams, whatever it is, depending on your body size. Put it in a liter of water, sip it 7-7, because you can't absorb that much. You can't absorb that much, but if you do it like that, you'll be absorbing all of it. And if you do that, you'll be getting your physiological requirements met. Okay, so we got questions today. Actually, I am going to get to them. I wanted to talk about a guy that, by the way, let me find that. Where all this stuff is. Can I do this? Can I make this smaller? I want to find this. I want to. I would. Somebody sent me a very impassioned note. By the way, you guys, Facebook. Let me see. How do I? I have some other words for Facebook. I don't quite call it that myself. I call it something else. But I won't say it here because it's not cool. But I guess just to sum it up, it sucks big time. Okay, Facebook. Sorry, Clone Burger. What's his name? What's his name? Oh, Suck the Burger. Yeah, Suck the Burger. Anyway, Suck the Burger should get his stuff together, because I'll tell you something. I can't get on. I can't get on Facebook. So I can't read your stuff. So my team sends it to me because they can get on, they're younger. So anyway, can I make this smaller? I got to read this to you guys. It's really good. I can't. There we go. Let me just look for 1 second. I hope you're still there. Can you see me? Can you see me? Oh, God. There it goes. So this poor person. So this person that I pretty much disgusted with most of the holistic community. Most holistic physicians charge way too much for their counseling, leave some important information out. Yes, the focus on diet is important, but even more important, all the powerful concentrated supplements, even more important, concentrated supplements that may turn this disease around. Listen, Michael, I agree in a lot of ways, but you're missing a few things. Sorry. Levels of selenium, zinc, vitamin C, garlic. All right. So anyway, the whole thing comes down to one of the things is I'm discussing with a whole bunch of you a disgrace. So we're a disgrace. Okay. I just wanted you to know. But the guy was talking about IP6, and he said he really wants it. And Emma, I can't get onto Facebook to answer you, but Emma, that's wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Fantastic. This warms my heart. Thank you. Very beautiful. Okay, so let's get back to our page. Yay, there we are. Okay, so cool. So IP6. Now, first of all, I just want to say, Michael, that this is I don't look at the world as diseases, and I don't think I don't think supplements are more important than diet. I think there are certain supplements we absolutely need because we can't get them in our diet, and that's what we talk about when we talk about, and also some of the supplements that we do get in our diet, we just don't get enough because of the depleted quality of the nutrition of the nutrients in our food. We just don't have. We certainly don't have the minerals we had 100 years ago in our food, and we certainly don't have the all the other phytonutrients and stuff, because who knows what they're doing. Who knows? We don't know. We don't know what they're doing. Here's the best guess we can get about them. When I talk about them, I'm talking about 13 families that run the world. The best we can guess is that something's going to happen. We don't know when, and we don't know exactly what. We got some ideas, some really good ideas, but we don't know. And I would talk about it if I ever get what's it called? Not a rebel station. What's it called? Rumble. Okay. So anyway, so let's talk about. So this guy, he's very, Michael. I appreciate that very much, because you're right. IP6 is overlooked and it's not spoken about very much, right? But it's a very special thing. It's basically it's. Who calls me? What's an area code? What's the country code 69? Anybody know? Anyway. So IP6, inositol phospho hexaphosphate. Hexa means 6. Okay. So inositol IP6 is that. Now, it's a naturally occurring substance. We find it in grains. We find it in seeds, nuts. We find it in plants. We also found that it's also in cells, in our cells. It's in our cell membranes. It's very important part of our physiology. It does many important things. Okay, and with regards to cancer, for everyone who's interested in working with cancer, is that it actually turns off the PI3K. It turns off the whole MAP kinase pathway. It turns it off. It's really good. It's kind of it's almost at the level of and it also goes after cancer stem cells. It is almost at the level of some of these like ivermectin and things like that, in terms of turning off the ability to turn those off, right? But it does other things as well. But so it turns off those pathways. It also can stop the cancer stem cells. And there was a study I found. I wanted to tell you that. Anyway, they found that one of the other things, in addition to turning off cancer pathways, it stops the initiation, stops the progression of cancer. Right? You can get these from eating a lot of foods, or you can get them from taking the supplements. And you can take the supplements. Absolutely, I would recommend it of IP6. It's a natural substance. Inositol is just a 6 carbon sugar. Type of sugar, not the sugar that is glucose or fructose or anything like that. It's not sugar that is used for fuel. It's different. And it's got these 6 sides. So if all 6 sides have a phosphate group on it, that's IP6. And it's readily, once it's taken by you take a pill, it's readily absorbed by the GI tract readily, and quickly gets dephosphorylated. It goes down to a 4 or a 3. IP4, IP3. Why? Because that's what really is the active stuff, the active components inside of there, which are carcinogenic. They found they did some studies with the immune system. Now we all know that natural killer cells, the activity, and of course the number. You want to have a good number of natural killer cells, but you want them to be active, and that's one test that's not done very often. And unfortunately, the only test they're using in America that I saw standardly is they're called lytic units. They put the natural killer cells with something that it's well known they can kill easily, right? And they want to see how many units in other words, how many are killed. They're called lytic units. They put some organism in there. Well, that's a very crude way of measuring its activity. So yeah, if the lytic units are high, then yeah, okay, so we know it's really active. And that's one. So that's what is used in America. What's used in Japan and some other countries, including Thailand, is in some places, not everywhere. And most doctors don't know about this. Is the gamma interferon. If you take out and you spin out your natural killer cells, and then you find out how much gamma interferon is being produced, then you know that if it's above a certain amount, you got a really active natural killer cell. It's really, really good. If it's below the 200, it's like you're really low, and if you don't have cancer, you probably will, just because you don't have enough natural killer cells. So the natural killer cell number and function correlates with cancer's growth either way, up, down. Okay, so the number and function, they've got to be function. You could have all the natural killer cells that you could need, but they could be rendered dysfunctional because of environmental things in our body. All right, so it's very important they have to be function. So and while we're at it, let me just remind you all, and again, I know you all know this because you've heard it 1,000 times, but hear it again. Okay. The tumors are the fruit on the tree, and the process that we call cancer roots are psychospiritual. They're psychospiritual. And not only that, but the immune system, as we said before, is the shadow of the mind, and it will follow the mind wherever the mind goes. And our minds, being these involuntary, kaleidoscopic, spinning, going nowhere machines that are producing thoughts at random. I mean, it's like a random generator. If there was such a thing, it's in our minds. So and keep that thought in mind, and that is that there's nothing random in the universe except our minds. Now, I often think that since thoughts that we pay attention to are really the ones that they matter on one level, but on the other hand, the 90% of the thoughts we don't pay attention to, that we're not even aware of, which is called the subconscious, That's the one that is part of our internal dialogue. It's part of it. Now, part of the internal dialogue is the dialogue that we are having with ourselves. Like, I could have gone to there and I should have, tomorrow I'm going to do that. I should have done, oh, I'm late on that thing. Last Tuesday, remember last Tuesday? Well, tomorrow, well, I should have. Did she? Right. That's our mind. That's welcome to the human mind. Okay. Anybody ever read Hermann Hesse? Hermann Hesse? Anybody ever read Hermann Hesse? I'm talking hopefully not to so many young people, but anybody read Hermann Hesse? I guess not. Anyway. Country code 69 is New Zealand, I believe. Huh? Wow. Okay, so anyway, in Hermann Hesse, it was great. One of his books, he's an amazing writer. If you guys haven't read Hermann Hesse, I mean, read Siddhartha, read Narcissus and Goldman, read anyway, one of his books, he had a place, it was a club, some guy, there's always deep psychological stuff going on. It's really like he's really amazing. He's a German writer in the 30s, I guess. Anyway, he was going to go into a club and price of admission was your mind. I love it. But anyway, if you are able to turn the mind off and you're in a state of bliss, which is our natural state, then your natural killer cells go through the roof. Okay, so don't forget that. But the studies showed that the IP6 with the inositol together actually had a great effect on natural killer cell function. And remember, whenever we're looking at mushrooms, most of them, like the maitake, the shiitake, the turkey tail, coriolis, all the ones that we're interested in that we take, all of them are really good at increasing natural killer cell number, not as much function. So function is really important. Okay. So anyway, you probably, what was it in the 60s? I think was when when it started to be realized and researched that fiber was an important part of our to prevent cancer and all that sort of thing, and that we don't get enough fiber. And what is fiber? Fiber is are those foods that we eat that are non-digestible yet essential, right? And so they've kind of divided them up into soluble and insoluble, and whatever. It's not important. It's important, but you can do without understanding it too well. Regardless, both of them are not digestible in the lower in the small. They're smaller in girth, but they're longer. Those are our small intestines, right? So we have 30 feet or 10 meters of intestines. You're starting at your probably around here, your esophagus, where it starts, down to your anus, about 30 feet or 10 meters. Okay, so 1.5 meters are only 5, which is 5 feet, is what the colon is, where the feces is stored. Okay, and don't store it too long, you guys. I know you're all storing it for longer than you need to. Don't need to store that stuff. Believe me. When it leaves you and you look at it, you say, "Hey, I'm kind of happy that it's there, not here anymore." So anyway, that's the thing. So if you ever have any kind of like reticence about getting a colonic, don't. You could tell them to save it in case you change your mind at the end. You want it back. Okay, so it's absurd. I talk in absurdities just to try to get things through our minds, because we have bizarre minds that block things off. So anyway, so what I wanted to say was that originally they were looking at fiber, and they found that high fiber diets were associated with less colon cancer, associated with less breast cancer, pancreatic cancer. And then one of the things they found out is that one of the most important parts of fiber is the IP6. Yeah. Inositol, hexa, phosphate. Hexa is 6, right? Okay, so now, one interesting study too was where they were doing epidemiological studies, which is epidemiology is when you're looking at different trends in nature. You're observing. You're just observing. You're not manipulating anything. Like in a true experiment, you manipulate what they call the independent variable, which is the one you're manipulating. And you think everything else is constant in that population except the thing that you're manipulating. And then you can say, aha, the results are because of the thing I manipulated, right? That's a big stretch. Since humans are so complex and we're doing so many different things, and everybody's in a study, goes home at night and stuff like that. So it's really a big stretch, but that's what they go for. And but anyway, epidemiological studies are looking at trends in populations. Well, they found that in the Scandinavian countries that when they looked at Finland versus Denmark, Finland had much less cancer than Denmark, and the same with Finland and America. Even though Finland had a pretty high a lot of oils, all right, so they had a high fat diet but they did not have, but they had much more fiber, and they had a significantly less amount of colon cancer and other kinds of cancer. All right, so I just it's not just experiments where you manipulate a variable. So okay, but as I said, prostate, lung, ovary, pancreas, it's not just colon. And then one of the great things about the IP6 is that it also grabs iron. And as you know, free iron, we've talked about it before. Free iron goes through what's called the Fenton reaction, and that Fenton reaction results in the production of the hydroxyl radical, which is the nasty one that causes all kinds of damage in human beings, right? Yeah, so we don't want that. Anyway, so it helps clear it up. So anybody out there have high iron and all that, then it's really good. So there's if you have hemosiderosis, or you have which is a iron storage condition. Anyway, this grabs it. It's kind of like an iron chelator, which is good, so it prevents hydroxyl radical formation. Now, what was interesting about the IP6 too is that it not only gets the standard cancers that we know of, which are carcinomas, right, of epidermal origin, such as breast, ovary, pancreas, colon, lung, right? Not only those, but also gets of mesenchymal origin, right, which are the sarcomas, like the fibrosarcomas and the chondrosarcomas, which come from cartilage, osteosarcomas, right? So it was pretty rough. And with the breast cancer, it was regardless if it was ER positive or ER negative. So it was not dealing at all with, it wasn't doing it with an estrogen. It didn't have the estrogen thing. So, and one of the things I really like about it is that, which I learned from Dr. Kobayashi, is that instead of like killing the cancer, let's kill that cancer, let's turn it back into a healthy cell. Right. And that's what we do with hyperthermia. Dr. Kobayashi's method of hyperthermia, it actually is cancer reversal because it stimulates mitochondrial proliferation. Well, the same with IP6. IP6 can actually re-differentiate. It can help re-differentiate what we call cancer. Okay, so cancer is a loss of differentiation, and they all become the same thing eventually. So a really advanced cancer is a poorly differentiated, right? So when you look on the histological report, poorly differentiated rather than well differentiated or moderately differentiated. Poorly differentiated means you can't tell where it started. What was it? Did it start in the lung? Did it start in the brain? Did it start in the jaw, the ovary, the breast? You don't know. That's a poorly differentiated, right? Okay, so it's lost its distinction as being the tissue that it started from. If you can restore that differentiation, you bring it back to becoming that tissue, then you've reversed it. It's no longer that. You understand that? That's pretty obvious, clear, right? Well, that's what we do. That's one of the part of the programs that we do, and it's something that I think is very important. I think we can actually do that. So it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Now, okay, so it's interesting because I guess okay. So some are new people. What are my thoughts on wheat? Well, wheat's got a lot of good nutrients in it. If it's eaten, you can take wheat berries and you can soak them and sprout them and get little green tails coming out of them. And then you can grind some of them and not grind the other ones. Grind maybe a third and not 2/3, and mix them in with, if you do juicing, if you guys do juicing, and you at the end of when you've done the juice, you clean out your juicer, you've got all this fiber. Well, you can take that and you can mix it with the wheat that is sprouted, just a little bit, just so you have, and make like a pancake and stick it in your pancake shape. Put it in your dehydrator, and you come out with some great crackers and cookies and stuff like that. By the way, you guys, I was just talking with our clinic, and I never realized that, because I know a lot of you are interested in eating uncooked food because you like to really be healthy, and the big deal about eating uncooked food is that it has to be delicious, and if it's not delicious, you won't eat it. And if you do eat it and it's not delicious, you're not liking it, then it's going to suppress your immune system because you're not having a good time. So then I found out that our book came out finally. So I wanted to show you. It's called Stop Making Cancer. Can you see that all? Can you all see that? Stop Making Cancer. A raw vegan recipe book. I wrote a foreword in it, so it's good to read so you understand why you're doing this. But I just wanted to show you guys. This is from our Oasis. And these, if I can. There we go. Yeah. Does that work? Because sometimes people think, oh, I'm not a rabbit. I don't want to eat rabbit food. Wait a minute. That's not working either. Let me find this. Let me find a way to show you. I just want to show you some of the foods. So here's a tabbouleh. Of course, sprouted vegetables. And then you can make a raw miso soup, believe it or not. Believe it. And you almost can't tell the difference. Really can't tell the difference. Tomato basil soup. I just want to show you this, but I got to show you this other one. Just so you, for those Italians out there. Oh, okay. Now there's a rice dish. Okay. But wait. Don't go away. I don't want to bore you guys. Veggie wrap. Yes, you can make those veggie. You can make the wraps raw. You can make raw breads. You can do that. Here's the lasagna. I want to show you guys. Look at the lasagna. That lasagna is crazy delicious. Ridiculously delicious. And you're going to say, well, hey, man, if that's raw, I can eat raw. Here's a raw pizza. I mean, it actually tastes good. I mean, it's not a pizza, but we have to call it that because of the people that are in transition. There's the manicotti, yeah, and stuff like that. Anyway, it's you really can enjoy it. Yeah. Enchiladas. Yeah. So anyway, all kinds of food, you guys. Stop making it now. So it's called Stop Making Cancer Raw Vegan. Yeah. And I guess it's on Amazon, and you can get a hard copy. You can order it, or you can get the ebook. I don't like ebooks, but if you're in a hurry to get started, you could do an ebook. But otherwise, order the hard. I mean, it's better to have a book. Remember, they can censor things. They can. All right, so let's look at some more thoughts on wheat. Do you think there is a cure for cancer? Yes. What's your name there? Dom. I wouldn't use the word cure because I wouldn't use the word disease, and we've That's I guess you must be new, but do I think cancer can go away? I know it can. I've seen it many times. No longer be an issue in someone's life. It goes away. The and again, cancer is chronically fermenting cells. Do tumor gene alterations change? Do tumor gene alterations change? So yeah, that's the thing. The thing is this: it is true that when the cell is relying on its energy production from fermentation and glycolysis, which is what cancer mostly does, that it causes an unstable cell. Okay, because it's really rapid. Glycolysis is really rapid. And if you have a successfully chronically fermenting cell, what you've done is you've turned on this gene, turned off that. You've done a lot of genetic engineering, your cell has, by turning this on and turning it off. Not mutating, but turning on and off, so that you can have, so that you can do what? What does cancer cells want to do? Well, I'll tell you. Very simple. Okay, so in a cancer cell, okay, mitochondria or little organelles where you put in glucose and oxygen to produce energy called ATP. Normal. That's what's normal and healthy and efficient that our body does, right? Okay. Now you lose a lot of those, so now you have to ferment. Fermentation, because that's the only way you can make energy, and the cell wants to survive, because that is the what we were told by God when God said, "Go forth and multiply." In other words, regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. Regenerate, rejuvenate, and procreate. And that's what happens. And so our body, in every aspect of our body, is going to engage in a homeostatic corrective response to protect anything that damages its function, or threatens its function. That's what homeostasis is. Okay, so cancer is a homeostatic corrective response, just as hypertension is, high blood pressure, just as what we call diabetes, insulin resistance, and all that stuff. These are all that. So now, but when a cell is relying on what they call substrate phosphorylation, which is the glycolysis and fermentation, it causes the cell to be a little bit rocky and unstable, right? Okay. And so in normal tissues, 90% of the ATP is obtained from oxidative phosphorylation from the mitochondria, right? 90%. In cancer, 80% of the ATP is derived from glycolysis or fermentation. Okay, so the only way you can do that is the cancer cell needs a ton more sugar. So it turns on everything it can to bring more sugar into the cell. Yes, it does. It has more insulin receptors. Yes, it does. It downregulates this and upregulates this, upregulates beta glucosidase, so it can grab sugar off of other molecules. So anyway, and it's this, idiosyncratic metabolic anomaly of cancer that allows it to, which is why they do PET scans, where they inject radioactive, radio-labeled glucose, and then they measure and see where you're picking it up. And wherever you're picking it up tells them, if you're picking it up at a high rate, well, that's cancer, what they call cancer. It's a fermenting cell. All right. Now, and one of the interesting things about cancer cells, and it can be used therapeutically, our body actually produces peptides that can go after and attack cancer and attack there's several peptides that are really good for that. But And the reason is because most cells are either neutral or slightly positive. If we looked at we took any of the group, took a look at some cells on your hand, that's some cells on your stomach and your ovary, testes, we're going to find out that the cells have either a neutral or a slightly positive charge. Cancer cells, on the other hand, have a negative charge, just like bacteria. Bacteria have a negative charge around their cells. And that's why our bodies produce these antimicrobial peptides that go in and can latch on through those electrostatic mechanisms. Okay, so do you think there's a cure? So in other words, yes, cancer. So do tumor alterations change? Yes, they do change all the time. PTEN gets downregulated, P53 gets downregulated to support glucose coming in and being used. All right, that's what it does. Okay, and that can be reversed. Okay, wow. So a lot of the same questions. I've got to really develop a thing so that you can, if you have a question, you can go on the website and say, hey. The art of grieving in unprocessed grief as cancer. Unprocessed grief as cancer. Yes. Grief is it's hard. It's really hard to talk about grief because grief is, I'm not sure what most people think it is. What do you think it is when you're grieving? Okay. Now, if you have any kind of understanding of the reality of the universe, then you know that human beings are not just bodies. Some of you might not know that. You still think that humans are bodies, and that's it. We're bodies. Yeah. You don't recognize. You don't know. A lot of, okay, anyway, some people don't know that human beings are spiritual. When people say I engage in spiritual activities, or I had a spiritual experience and all that sort of thing, it's really, the truth is, we are spirits having an earthly experience, right, all the time, and every once in a while we recognize that which we really are, because we are not these bodies, right? And anyway, so if you know that, if you really know that, your level of grief will be different. The kind of grief that you experience will be different. If you really know that these bodies are incredible divine gifts, vehicles that are allowing us to get around on this planet, if you really know that, then you know that whoever you're grieving over has now gone to a new level, whatever that is, whatever your system of understanding is. All right, so that's what you'll know. So you wouldn't. Now, a lot of what we call grief, though, is that there's a great word in Thai. It's called kitun, which means miss. I miss kitun. I miss you, or I miss that. I miss that, or I miss something. So it could be that you miss something. I really miss my mom and my dad. And that's the thing about death, is it doesn't stop. It keeps going. It doesn't come back. It's permanent. But again, they're both on their new journeys, and they're both going where they need to go. And I'll see them again. You don't become parents and child with people that there's you've got a relationship going on I'm going on long-term relationships, right? Long-term, beyond just this current situation. So anyway, I speak cryptically on purpose because a lot of people out there I can't, if certain words, I have to really like get in. If we're going to talk about a specific subject like this, which requires me defining a lot of terms. Remember, all communication only works when you're speaking the same language and you have the same definition of the words. And so I'd have to do all of that, and this is not the forum for that. So I won't go it. So that's why I'm speaking cryptically. Okay, but basically what I want to say is that your parents, don't worry, you'll see them again. That's it. So we miss people, but we shouldn't have anything else. Now, yes, a child dies, a baby dies. I mean, that's a whole different thing, because you're saying, well, they didn't have an opportunity. That's true. That's true. And who knows what they're going into? Well, who knows what happened? Where are they, in a bad place? No. They didn't have an opportunity in this particular lifetime. Like, for example, when I was originally started, before I went went into internal medicine, I was doing obstetrics and gynecology, and we would deliver babies that had died already before they were born, stillbirths, or so. And then when we examined, they were genetically in trouble. Had they lived, they would have had a miserable time. Their life would have been miserable. And so there's a lot of, so we have to understand that we don't understand how the world is, what it is. We don't understand. We have a very, very, very narrow perspective of reality, but we don't know what's going on. Recurring low iron levels, possible root causes. Well, recurring iron. Iron is, if it's low, the reasons that iron is low is there's only two reasons. One, you're not getting enough in your body. You're not ingesting enough, or you're losing too much. Three reasons, sorry. Or you're getting it in, you're not losing it, but you're not making, we're just talking about iron. We're not talking about the red blood cells. Okay, yeah, so two. So now, eating, you got to eat enough iron. So you eat foods, that means your stomach has to be very good. It has to be very good. You have to have a very acidic stomach so that you can turn ferric into ferrous, which is iron, in one form, and the 3+ form is ferric, 2+ form is ferrous. You got to turn the ferric into the ferrous so you can absorb it. Okay. Then once you can absorb it, then you won't have an iron deficiency. Okay. Now, if you're eating animal corpses that still have some blood in them, and you get the blood from the hemoglobin, that's more easy. That's easier to absorb. Mm-hmm. But believe me, there's not many anemic cows, not many anemic elephants, not many anemic horses, not many anemic dogs, not many anemic. Well, dogs are different. But just think, how about kwai? What do they call kwai here? A water buffalo. There's a lot around here. Anyway, water buffalo. By the way, did you know in Thailand, like, the worst thing you can call somebody is a water buffalo? Can you imagine? Kwai is their word for it. So if you call someone a kwai, it's like, them was fighting words, boy. Fighting words. You call me a kwai? Anyway, interesting. So I like water buffalo. think they're cool. You know what's cool about water buffalo? I don't know if you ever saw them hanging out in the fields when they're grazing and eating. They all have a buddy. They got this white bird sitting on its back. You know, I'm sure they have. I'm not even sure of the extent of their symbiosis, but I'm sure, you know, the bird's probably eating some of the insects that could disturb the kwai, because kwais aren't real good at scratching, and he's got some food to eat. That's probably working out really good. Anyway, so the other one is losing blood. You're losing blood through bleeding, or the blood is being burst inside of your witness inside. It's called hemolysis. Things can cause hemolysis. So, for example, people that have a G6PD deficiency, which is an enzyme, you can't get vitamin C, and you can't get ozone. You can't get certain treatments if you have this G6PD deficiency. So if you have a G6PD deficiency, many different things can stress the red blood cells. They can't protect themselves, and they burst. It's called hemolysis. And there's a blood test you can use called haptoglobin. Haptoglobin, you can see whether or not, if it's really low, that means you are having hemolysis, bursting of red blood cells. On the other hand, you can have your stool checked with there's a little card they can send you in the mail. They used to send in the mail a card, and you put a piece of stool here and here, and you turn it over, and you put this drop guaiac on top of it, and if it turns blue, it's got blood in it. So you could be losing blood and not knowing it, not having a lot of blood come out, but it's changed, and it's changed so you don't see it. It's no longer red because it's taken so long to come out. So usually bleeding lower down. Okay, we're back now. Better? Okay, good. What happened? My gosh. So I don't know where you guys got it. Switzerland, man. You guys are all from all over. I love it. Good. Everything's back. Sorry, how did that happen? It was choppy. Yes, okay. Everything's back. Okay, great. Yay. Are we back? Yeah, this is good. Okay, this is good. Yay. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead. Let's go. Yeah. So anyway, that's it. So iron, you can either be bleeding and you don't know it, or you could be having blood burst and you don't know it, or you're not getting enough acid in your stomach, so you're not absorbing iron if you're a vegetarian. If you're eating animal corpses, you're okay. I mean, if you're eating animal corpses, it's easier to absorb, but you still need to have an acidic stomach to digest those animal corpses. Yeah. By the way, anybody, a lot of you still eating corpses, right? Are you guys? A lot of animal eaters out there. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Shocks, Aline. Wonderful. Anyway, remember something. Yeah, still eating corpses. All right, I got it. A lot of corpse eaters out there, and they'd rather fight than switch. I'm never going to stop eating the animals. You know what grabs me, gets me all the time. When I hear people say, "I'm not going to stop eating. I got to have my meat." Your meat? I thought it was the animals' muscles. My meat. All right, it's your meat. Anyway, so the point is this: if you're still eating animal corpses, then I just wanted you to realize that the best animal, if you want to get really like the best nutrition, right? You run because right, you're eating the animals not because you're addicted to the taste. No, not at all. No. Not because you like that. No. It has nothing to do with the Maillard chemicals, right? The Maillard chemicals, y'all know what Maillard chemicals are, right? You got to cook it's got to get up past a certain temperature. You got to evaporate a certain amount of water, and then amino acids bind with sugars, and you get what are called Maillard chemicals that are responsible for the fragrances, odors, and tastes of cooked food, and that's what we like. Because you animal eaters, how many are eating raw? There's a guy here in Thailand I found out yesterday was eating raw chicken. So I mean, yeah, yeah. But anyway, what I was gonna tell you, if you like to eat animal corpses, the best animal corpse for you, for people that eat animal corpses, is human. Eat humans. I'm sure I've heard that there's ways you can find it. They have human restaurants or something. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. I found that out. They have restaurants where they have human flesh. I don't know how they get away with it. Can't even imagine it. I've got many other things to think about rather than that. So I'm not going to figure it out. I'm not going to research it. But anyway, yeah. Any argument in favor of eating animals, that same argument can be used for cannibalism. Period. Yeah. Come on. Exactly. They do. You're right, Nikki Marie. That's absolutely right. That's it. That's it. And who's that crazy lady in New York with the Pizzagate? She was preparing the yeah. Ba 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 ba. Okay, so what do I think of cod liver oil? Cod liver oil was a good thing in the past because we didn't really know a lot, but now it's chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, all these things. They're just, that's where we get our oils. And that's where all oils begin. That's where all oils begin. Right? So, and what I'm saying is cod liver oil is not necessary and not nearly as what we need. We need omega-3s and 6s from seeds and nuts. That's what we need. Is anesthesia affect the baby? 5 years old? What can you do to clean the body? Okay, so yeah, if a 5-year-old child had had surgery and anesthesia, then they were poisoned big time, like they have to do in order to produce a state of anesthesia. And remember, with anesthesia, they have to make you feel no pain, so you've got to really be unconscious. But you would still have natural reflexes that might make you jerk and jump. So they also have to paralyze you. It's pretty incredible. So the liver is the organ that will clean that up. So if you got a 5-year-old and they've got a good, healthy liver, that's good. And you're not going to put them on a fast or a cleanse, but you can give them fresh vegetable juices and have them drink a lot of fresh vegetable juices just to clean out their livers and clean out their bodies and just clean out and just kind of, drink as much as possible, but they let them eat too, because they're 5 years old. They have to be eating, but give them lots of fresh vegetable juice. Get them away from any other poisons, because they don't need any extra toxins to have to detoxify at this point in time. They don't need them. They need to just maximize their ability to detoxify. So lots of sleep, running around, because kids like to run around and sweat. All that's going to get it out. All right. But the liver has got to be in good condition. So that means cruciferous vegetables. And if they don't necessarily like them, I'm not sure what you feed your 5-year-old. Remember something, everybody. You can't ever blame your child for what they eat, because you fed them. Like, he only eats nuggets. Well, where did he get the nuggets? Yeah. So did he hitchhike down to the store? He got hitchhiked down to the store, got some nuggets, and came back. You weren't looking. I don't think so. All right. So, anyway, yeah. Don't give them foods that are going to require poisoning. That means it's got to be organic food, right? And hopefully the organic food. Listen, well, the argument is that the organic food is not really organic. Well, I'm going to tell you something. If it's labeled organic, it's got more of a chance of being of having less chemicals than that's not labeled organic. So at least that's a start. Yeah, who knows? It's probably not devoid of all of them. Yeah, I agree. We're lied to on every level. We're cheated on every level. I know that. I would never mention the word. I would never ever want to mention the word GENOCIDE. Because you can't mention those words. Can't mention those words. Part of the program. Okay, hypothyroid. Somebody said anything on hypothyroid. It's real simple. We've mentioned it many times, and everybody's got it. We don't get enough iodine in our lives. You need to get Lugols, Lugols pills, 25 milligrams, or iodoral, IODORAL, 25 milligrams. Take it once a day. You need to take your basal body temperatures 5 minutes in the morning before you get out of bed. Take your temperature, write it down 5 days in a row. If they average out less than 97.8 or 36.8 centigrade, 97.8 Fahrenheit, then you are hypothyroid. And you need to take some natural thyroid. So I recommend Thyrovance because you can get it from New Zealand online, and it's from organic cows and pigs. Now, if you don't want the natural and you don't want to have killed an animal or have an animal died so you can get their thyroid extract, which I get it, then you're stuck with having to get the synthetic. Then that would be the levothyroxine, which you get, which is T4, which is called Synthroid, and then a T3 is called Cytomel. And you take them in the right proportions, about 5 to 1, up T4 to T3. And that you'll need a prescription for. But anyway, you'll take enough of that to keep your body, and then so you'll do this with your blood. You'll check your 5 days. You'll take your thyroid for, let's say, 10 days, and then while you're taking it, you check your basal body temperatures again. If they're still low, then you'll add a second one in the afternoon on an empty stomach, because the first one was on an empty stomach in the morning. Second, okay, and then you'll do that for 10 days, 14 days, and then while you're still taking both of them, you'll check your basal body temperature. If it's still low, you're going to add a second one back in the morning, and you keep working your way up, and you'll get to it that way. That way, you don't need doctors, you don't need hospitals, you don't need to go to those places and let them destroy your mind while they're ripping out sticking a needle in your arm, pulling out your blood again. You don't need that. You can do this. I know, to get better, but you have to be careful because the iodine will suppress thyroid production, and so that's why you've got to keep going up in the skin. Stomach pulse, but I do not have an aneurysm. If you can feel your pulse, see in the back of our stomach is the aorta, and the aorta is boom, 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 boom. So if you can feel that, means you're thin. You're probably not overweight. I'm sorry if you've answered. Is there an alternative to Zoladex shots other than removing the ovaries? Yeah, big time. I mean, yeah. I mean, the what do you call it? Doxycycline. I don't know. See if I can find that for you. Doxycycline is very, very important, and we don't usually know about it in that terms. But I learned it back in 2000. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I can't find it right now, but that's okay. Let's just go back to where we were. Where was our questions again? Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay. So anyway, Zoladex, yeah. Anyway, doxycycline is actually really, 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 really important. I learned it back in 2002, 2001. It works really, really good for Zoladex, but you don't need to have your ovaries removed. I'm not sure what your situation is, but why don't you get in touch with me or ask me a more specific question? I need to know what we're dealing with. Why are you considering Zoladex and versus having your ovaries removed? What is the situation that's going on specifically, and what is your condition and some of your lab tests and stuff, just so I can make a proper proper recommendation related to your situation. So the art of grieving, going back to that question, I don't know if I ever answered it, but the point is to understand. If you don't know, if you think we're just bodies, then you've got a whole new set of problems. You have a whole set of problems, and you think that person's just gone, and well, it depends. Are you grieving? Are you afraid of, is it your loss or their loss? Or you have a child and your child's loss of the father or something. You have to, or, you've got to just address them, look at them, understand your feelings. If you have a child involved or another person involved, you need to talk to them about, you got to talk it out, and they got to understand, let them tell you how they feel about death. What is death? What happens at death? If they've lost a loved one, what does that mean to them? And just talking it out. Let me tell you one thing. Probably the best and only value I see in psychotherapy or any kind of talking therapies. They're all good. They give you insight and all that, but you're still stuck with the mind. At the end, you're stuck with the mind, and the mind is where we have problems. Okay, so the only way to get out of the suffering of the mind is to transcend it, to get out of the mind. The mind's where we suffer. It's the home of Maya. It's the illusion. That's the mind. That's what the mind is. You can't fix it because it's not fixable. It is by definition the house of illusion. You can call it the house of illusion, and we'll go into that another time. But probably the best benefit of what I was going to say about psychological methods of talking. We're not talking about behavioral psychology, but talking therapies is catharsis, just getting it out. The person that shows up at the AA meeting or the Narcotics Anonymous meeting or the Overeating Anonymous meeting or whatever it is they're trying to get through, some 12-step program. Usually the first time they sit there for 2-3 weeks before they get up. They finally get up and they're like, it's really hard to tell you my story. And then they tell their story, or they just say hi. Once you've told your story, it's not as powerfully interwoven into your psyche now. You've given it out. Now you tell it to this guy and to that guy and this girl, and you tell it and keep telling it and telling it, and it becomes that story, not my story, that story. And you get away from the emotional connection to it. So catharsis is really good. And just talking it out, saying, I hate that guy. I said it. Oh my God. I guess I do hate him. It's okay. You hate him. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? Catharsis. And especially, if you're in a relationship where you can't be you, and there's a lot of that going on, you can't be you, that's a problem. You got to go cathart with someone else. And part of that catharsis with someone else would be figuring out how to either remedy this relationship or get out of it. Okay, how do you restore? Oh, good question. Cardium. How do you restore mitochondrial function? Wow, lots of things. One of the things, eating lots of fats, get good healthy fats, because it's the mitochondrial membranes that are important for longevity and health and all that stuff. Um, it's too late to change mothers, so you can't change your mother. But if you could, pick one that's died at 130. Anyway, get our mitochondria from our moms. But anyway, lots of heavy fats. Eat lots of good, healthy fats, like we said. The other thing is there's a couple of peptides actually you can use. SS31 and MOTC, right? And these are really good. What the SS31 does is it actually tightens the fold where the mitochondria is doing its thing with oxidative phosphorylation and making lots of ATP, right? And it's right, and there's a little fatty acid there called cardiolipin. Cardiolipin is full of it's got 4 tails of omega-6. Anyway, it's the only place in the body the cardiolipin is made is in the mitochondria. So, but SS31 and the MOTC are excellent for they're small injections you have to get. You could probably get most of the top peptides you want from what I can see. In America, the only place is Peptide Science. In Europe, there's a problem because of Codex Alimentarius. They passed it. I don't know how they passed it. They just did. Even though I remember back when they were trying to pass it, there was hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of protests from Europeans, and they passed it anyway. So we should have known back then that they don't care what we think. But anyway, so it's hard to get in there. So you might have to go out of the EU to another place, order it, or have a friend get it, and then whatever. But Peptide Science is, TaylorMade, I think, is the best, but they don't sell in the U.S. because of the Fraud and Death Association. They make things really difficult. And believe me, if they approve things, if the Fraud and Death Association approve things, or is it the Federal Death Authority? Can't forget. Federal Death Authority or Fraud and Death Association. One of them. I can't remember the name for it. But anyway, usually if it's approved, you don't want it. New FDA approved thing. Good. Okay. Thanks. I won't take it. But what about binders? Binders are really helpful. They help us from ingesting more, absorbing more of what we're eating. Yeah, they're really helpful in that regard. Very important. However, the stuff that's already deep in our body, we have to get out through like saunas, infrared saunas, a lot of exercise, that kind of thing, movement. You got to get it out. But infrared saunas do a really good job of that. What about a cyst growing on the chest wall? Female, a cyst growing on the chest wall. You mean, there aren't many cysts that would grow on the chest wall. Like, the glands that are in the skin are not going to produce anything. Are you talking like about a cystic type acne? Is it like is there just one? Do you have several? Does it look like it's filled with pus? Does it look like it is? I really don't know. It's not just a liquid filled, like you can kind of transparent liquid filled mass, right? That's not what it is. That's not what you're talking about. I think is it pus? A lot of times, if you get a few of them, and some people can wind up getting them in their armpits, or actually around their pubic area. A lot of times they can be staph, which is a bacteria, and a recurrent staph. And staph can live in your nasal passages. Staph can live. So that's another thing. So people usually take. They have to sniff some stuff that. You can use peroxide. You can use different things to get rid of the staph in there, and then. But I don't know what you have, so it's hard for me to say. But so if we can have a talk, you could show it to me. I could really help you out a lot more. I apologize for not
Okay, Quay, yeah, here's another question from TikTok. What do you know about ALS? ALS is a very, very sad situation. And I think it, like what we call cancer, chronically fermenting, is a dead end metabolic pathway that has multiple roads leading to it. So, for example, Dr. Simon Yu in St. Louis was using his acupuncture meridian on a guy with ALS who was already in a wheelchair, already had a tracheotomy, right? And so he was really, really advanced. The guy's dancing now. He's back to normal because he found out that he had a hidden dental infection that wasn't seen on X-ray. Deep. It was a deep cavitation. So there can be other things that lead to what we call ALS. Um, Parasites that get up into the brain and other. There's just a lot of things that are in toxins and stuff like that. So um, it's not like a one thing. And the same with MS, and the same with a lot of these things. You go to a neurologist and they say, "Well, I can't know. You're either this or that." They're trying to put a label on what you have, and they don't always. And it's based on they've got certain criteria. Well, if you meet 6 out of 10, then you're this. If you make like lupus, it has was it 18. I think you have to get. I forget how many you have to get out of lupus to say that it's lupus. But these are just you're giving it a name, and then that doesn't really change anything. It doesn't help. Diagnoses don't help in that regard. You all know that about diagnoses. They're absurd. They're absurd. Because what's the thing about a diagnosis? You know, and remember this. Don't be. People say, "Oh, I'm so glad I finally got a diagnosis." Okay, did the diagnosis tell you how you got that, and did it tell you how to get rid of it? No. Well, then, of what use? What value is a diagnosis if it doesn't tell you how you got it and how to get rid of it? It's of no value. And you could call it a tomato, you could call it a banana, you could call it a potato, you could call it a zebra. Same thing. No, no, no. I have pancreatic adenocarcinoma. Well, that just means it started in a gland in your pancreas. I have invasive ductal carcinoma. Well, that just means it started in the duct and it's gone through the ductal wall. So that's what that means. So if you look at any of these diagnoses by these really smart people in their white coats, they're useless. Except they now have the appropriate nomenclature to stick it on to their sales algorithm. And now they can justify selling you stuff and drugs, and then you can't afford them, but now the insurance will pay for it. So, yeah, that's how that works. It's a sales algorithm, and it's also a union. It's a union. We got to make sure everybody gets their piece. The pathology, we got to do biopsy. Why do you got to do biopsy? I got a really hard lump in the breast. I got a big nodule on the prostate. What are you gonna do? Probably biopsy for what? To find out what that you don't know already. Nothing. Okay, but I need to do. I need to know the exact so I can get the right drug. No, it doesn't work that way because it's not lacking that drug. It's not the reason that it happened is because it doesn't have this drug. It's not that this drug deficiency is going to fix this problem. That's not what it is. Are you? You think I'm stupid? You think I'm stupid? They do. They think you're stupid. That's why they do this. Don't play their game. Don't use their words. Don't go back to them. Oh my God, what a terrible thing to say. You don't have to go back to them. You don't. You can go to regular holistic doctors who can order all the same tests and monitor you. You don't have to go to the oncologist. Now, oncologists are, from my perspective, an oncologist is a conventional oncologist is a really close to being a mortician. And there's a handoff there between the oncologists and the morticians. Is that the guy you want to go to? The girl you want to go to? I not the one I want to go to. If you think, see, the problem is they look at your diagnosis and
not gonna be alive. So they do whatever they do, they don't care. How do they know? I've seen what would be called miracles frequently. So that's not true. Pancreatic cancer, stage 4, gone. Brain tumors, gone. Breast cancer all over the body, everywhere, gone. All of them. Yeah, many, many, many times. So you don't look at this and then look at whatever they told you, and and overall survival. If you read the research, overall survival means what? 5 years. That's overall survival. They define terms, believe me, they define their terms really carefully, right? So that's why I define terms. So if we're going to talk, we're always going to talk the same language, and we're going to define our terms so that we know that we're communicating. It's important. Okay, here's a good question by Toya. I don't have my glasses on. The right glasses. How does a fruit raw vegetable diet affect one that has Candida? It seems to me that of all the sugar, fructose would be making the Candida worse. Okay, so good question. So Candida, as you all know, is one species of, or several species of funguses. And about 10% of our flora are funguses anyway, so they need to be in there. They perform a very important job. Funguses, remember that funguses are the undertakers of the world. They recycle dead matter. So when cells dies and stuff like that, they have a very important function outside on the earth. Very important function. So that's what funguses do. Okay, they take that which is dead and turn it back into soil, or the raw material that for the next step of life. So they're little alchemists. That's what they are. So anyway, you need a certain amount of them. So what you're saying is that when you say you have Candida, you mean that you've got an overgrowth. You've got more of them than you need. And when they start growing over, they can actually change their shape and their form and become more and more of a problem. Well, now the best way to deal with them is to put in the healthy bacteria and let them grow, because the healthy microorganisms and the other healthy funguses, and they will control that microscopic population better than we could ever imagine. We don't know how to do it. They know how to do it. So you got to put the good guys in, let them take them to those parking places and get rid of these guys. All right. That's the most important thing. Now, yeah, if you ate a lot of fruit, but you're going to eat small amounts of fruits like berries and green apples, maybe an apple, regular apples, some oranges, and you're going to eat this small amount a couple times a week, not a lot. You might put some berries in your smoothie and stuff like that, but you're not predominantly fruit. You're predominantly green and yellow and orange and purple vegetables. That's what you're mainly eating. And you're eating that. That means what's going to happen? That's going to give you lots, and seeds and nuts and chia seeds. It's going to give you all of this soluble fiber, which gets down there, and your body makes, and it becomes food for these healthy bacteria, and they grow and they proliferate, and they take over. So you don't have to worry about it. They eat the bacteria that you want are the bacteria that can survive on a real human diet. Gimana? Oh, 8:30 now. Okay. One more. Where are we now? We're in Facebook. By the way, you guys, Facebook, I'm so sorry again. Like I said, I can't get in there. I can't. They say they switched me over to this thing called Meta Business, some business thing. And then they want
email and password, which I give to them, and then they say this. They tell me it's not true. Okay, great. Wow, yeah, Marley, right on. Past year, I completed 4 seasonal, 14-day only water fasts that were uneventful with no known problems. Of course, you're about to finish another one, but you're wondering if you should go for 21. Yeah, go for 21. Contact me. You know how to contact me for to help you with that. And then what was your news recommendation? Eat every other day, not on weekends and seasonal. No, I'm just saying you could eat every other day. You could eat not on weekends. You could pick or Mondays and Tuesdays, doesn't matter. You could pick out 2 days of the week you don't eat. You pick out 1 day of the week you don't eat. Or you could eat every other day, which is harder than it sounds. And or you could just do, I mean, I would do one of those, and then 2 equinoxes, two solstices, for the 4 corners of the earth. Do a 14-day water fast. That's fantastic. You're doing that, Marley. That's just incredible. That's fantastic. What would okay? So hi. As a, don't call yourself a cancer patient. Grade 3A B cell lymphoma, which is absurd, ridiculous. Don't play their game. First of all, following several integrative and molecular protocols. Well, that's, what would be my advice about bioidentical hormone therapy? Well, bioidentical hormone therapy is always real important. You got to, no matter what you're going through in life, you need to balance all systems. And the endocrine system, the hormone system, has to be balanced. And that is not just sex hormones like testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. It's also cortisol. It's also thyroid. It's also growth hormone. It's also prolactin. It's also, all those. You want to use as many as possible, evaluate as many as possible, and bring them into balance with biologically identical plant-based materials. So, but my concern is if you're following several, a lot of times I see this with people, they're following all kinds of 3 or 4 different groups or people. It's just too much. And you're going to be taking so many supplements that you're not going to be eating. And then your mindset is you're going to fix this instead of restoring health. You got to remember, balance is health. Hope you're getting to sleep. I hope you're getting to sleep early. I hope you're moving around all day. Okay, so my platelets are below the lowest range, and a blood test taken every 6 months for the last 6 years shows a lower number than the previous. Well, I don't know how low you are, but your Sloan Kettering oncologist can't explain it. So he's done a bone marrow biopsy, and he's seen that your the precursors are not in there, or are in there, so that the platelets are not being destroyed by an autoimmune condition. I mean, like what they call an autoimmune condition, where the antibodies are attacking it. That's not it. Number one, he knows that already. He proved that. Number two, you've got plenty of megakaryocytes in your bone marrow, so to produce platelets, you got plenty of those, so that's not the problem. And your D-dimer and fibrinogen are not high, meaning that you're producing lots of blood clots, and blood clots all require platelets, so you're not overusing your platelets. There's several things you have to look at. So all of that's looked at, and it's still what it is, but you notice you're not bleeding. It's not until it gets below 20,000 that it really becomes a problem. So if you're not bleeding, that's beautiful. I mean, I would have to know more about your situation to really respond to that. But what I want to know, what's really going on. Okay, so I'm not gonna. All right. Okay, this is gentler. Gentler. Huh? Gentler. Okay, so I don't know what's you got some mucus and it doesn't smell very good and it doesn't taste very good and all that sort of thing. So I don't know, and it's only in your throat. So it's not coughing it up, it's just your throat is producing it. I'm not sure what you're talking about. One thing you can always do is you can gargle with hydrogen peroxide. Get the 6% food grade and mix it with a little bit of water, distilled water, with food grade hydrogen peroxide, distilled water. Or just use the 6% and just gargle and then spit it out. And then gargle and spit it out. Okay? Then rinse your mouth out really, really, really good. Wait about an hour and then do the same thing with colloidal silver. Gargle with the colloidal silver, a really healthy, good colloidal silver. The one I think is the best is it's called Sovereign Silver from Natural Immunogenics. I'm sure you can find it. Sovereign Silver from Natural Immunogenics. Very good. It's very, you can trust it. Okay, you guys. Anyway, Sawasdee Krap, aloha, and see you all next week. Okay, I got to run. It's that time, and sorry it didn't last as long. I usually do 2 hours, but today I had to do an hour and a half. Okay, thank you.